There we go. Now we're started. So again, welcome everyone to Coach Transformation Academy's Transformational Tuesday. As you know, we're always so happy that you're here. And today we are especially happy that you're here because we're going to learn about braving our story. You know, as we journey through our careers and through life, do we let the world around us define who we are? Or do we dare to be different and brave our story? We're not a needle in a haystack, nor are we a voice in the wind. Every individual person has a unique and special story that can inspire another person, uplift the spirits, and empower organizations. You know, we spend a great deal of time on our skill sets and our mindsets, but have we found time to work on our heart sets? There's a voice of truth in every single person, a story worth telling, a word to encourage, a life to brave. As coaches, we help our clients to brave their story as we brave our story. So this evening, we're going to discover how you can brave your own story by learning how to have brave, collaborative conversations that inspire change and move hearts. So with us this evening, we have Jedidiah Alex. He is an MCC and the founder of Coaching Changes Lives. He is also the creator of Metamorphium and Transformative Systematic Co-Creative Coaching. He is also the author of a much anticipated upcoming book, OMG, Coaching is Conversational Mastery. So we already know that this is going to be a very energetic and very interactive webinar. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jedi because I want to get this story started. Over to you, Jedi.
Thanks, Brenda. Really appreciate that. And well, this is my first time meeting everyone, and really appreciate everyone for tuning in on a Tuesday. And I just had a coach training just half an hour before this. We just ended. It's really amazing. So really honored and blessed to spend the next 1 hour with all of us here. And hopefully from this session, we get to know each other and get to go deeper into today's topic on braving your story. So once again, thanks Soham and Frenda for inviting me here to spend this next 60 minutes with all of us. And the way I like to keep it, it's to keep it open. And anytime, any point of time, if you have any questions, let's try to co-create this entire experience together to make this experience something that is worth remembering. Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm based right now in Singapore, a tiny little island off the coast of Southeast Asia, somewhere south part of Asia, just about I think 6 7 hours away from Dubai. Um, and how many of you have been there before? Yeah. No? No, I would love to invite you guys on a journey with me. Yeah. Okay. One of my dreams is to bring a group of coaches to travel with me to different parts of the continent, travel down to Machu Picchu, down to the Antarctica. I always tell coaches, I say this, you know what? Coaching, it's this experience to be experienced. And one of the beauty of coaching is that if I'm going to explain to you what coaching is, you know, it takes me forever. But I want you to experience this conversation today. And that's the beauty of coaching. Yeah, so I welcome you to into this space that we have tonight, and or this afternoon or this evening, whichever part of the world we are in. And let's have this space to really explore what it really means to brave your story. So, braving a story for me, one of the big things is that as a coach, many of times we have different stories, and our clients live different stories. And one of the beauty about coaching, I often find it's that the stories that our clients share and the stories that they live oftentimes have impact on our own personal life as well. And one of the things I always tell coaches, the beauty of coaching is this: we get to live many different lives. We get to live through the lens of our client's eyes. So regardless of what age, what demographics they're from, what cultures they're from, if we take on that coaching mindset and the learning spirit, we begin to learn more and more about each person, more and more about the world, and we begin to find new forms of appreciation and gratitude for the people around us and for the reasons why we are even coaching in the first place. Someone asked me a while ago and said, you know, Jedi, why do you coach? Why do you bother coaching? And what's the purpose of coaching, right? You could have done anything else. Why do you want to do coaching? Well, I often tell them this. I said, the beauty about coaching, it's that little spark, the little thing that, a little conversation, a little insight, the little observation, a little reflection, a little inquiry, that little spark that triggers new ideas, new insights, new co-creative space, and oftentimes birth something that is really beautiful out of the conversation. And to me, one of the best things about coaching is this idea of conversational mastery. And why do I say conversational mastery? To be an effective coach, it's not so much about the tools that I use, it's not so much about the techniques or the strategies. All those are beautiful, all those are great, but the role of a coach is about less of me trying to be me, trying to show up what I know, but it's more about holding that space for the client and having the sense of conversational mastery. And what do we mean by conversational mastery? It's ability to tune in, ability to have empathic listening, ability to have inclusive listening, ability to just be one with the client in the moment, to co-create that space for the client. Okay, so that's a little prelude to what we're going to discuss here tonight. And the way I like to do it, we'll always open the floor for questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, sharings, and you're free to actually post any questions that you have regarding braving your stories just down below in the chat box function. If this is the first time you're on Zoom, or if you feel like voicing out, feel free to just raise your hands under the reaction column just below here as well, and we will have a lot of interaction time as well. Okay, so I believe that most of us here tuning into this evening or this afternoon, you're probably a coach or in the process of becoming a coach. Most of us on the journey of becoming a coach, or at least a leader, a HR practitioner, L&D, or a business owner. Yep, I think so. Most of us are. Okay, now, how many of us have experienced before a story? How many of us have a story, have heard a story before? Yeah, okay, some, not everyone. How many of us have enjoyed stories? How many of you enjoy stories? We do. Yeah, I know some of us do. And how many of you miss going into the cinemas, watching a great story? Yeah, ever since the pandemic, I miss stories on the planes, watching stories on the planes. Now, some of us enjoy stories through the visual element. Some of us enjoy stories through the auditory element. Some of us love the stories through the experiential element. I remember one time I was journeying through with a group of coaches, and I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's take a moment right now. Let's pause here. Let's observe what's around us." So we were in this cave somewhere in Arizona, and it was a really nice cave. And in this cave, I was saying, "Hey, you know, this is kind of interesting. Nobody has done cave coaching before. Let's just take a moment right now, just explore in this cave what is something interesting about the cave." And through that environmental experience, we begin to have new insights and new awareness that's brought forth. Something about story creates connection. Something about story creates new connections, meanings, relationships that we never quite saw, never quite see. The stories that our clients tell also reveals a lot about who they are beyond what they are. A lot of the times when our clients tell us a story, it also reveals the deepest cries of their heart. And stories have the power to change lives. One of the reasons why I called my company Coaching Changes Lives is because I truly believe that coaching has the requisite power to transform life. Now, how many of you have heard this said before? You know, coaching is all about transformation. Have you heard this said? Yeah. Oh, we're going to transform life. We're going to transform life, right? But how many of you have this question? How do I do that? Oh, how many of you have this question before? Like, okay, have I transformed a life? Or why am I not seeing transformation happen? Any of you had experienced that before? Yeah, for those of us watching live on Facebook, comment down below in the comment section. How many of you experienced it before? We heard about transformation, but what is transformation really? How do I demonstrate that? Do I force transformation? Oh, I had a coaching session, but is my client transformed? I don't see them transform. I don't see them enlightened. Yeah, and all the time, Manish all the time, who has not? But really interestingly, I had coaches telling me, you know, Jedi, every time I tried to create transformation for my client, notice the word, I tried to create transformation for my client, it almost seems like I'm hitting the wall. I just can't seem to get across that transformation hurdle. Because the truth is this, it's not about trying to create transformation. Transformation is happening all the time. But what we're looking for is that huge change. So think about this way. There was once a little boy who was very intrigued by this caterpillar that was crawling on the little branch. And he noticed that the caterpillar every single day would go on different leaves and chew on the different leaves. And he was chewing and chewing, chewing. And he told his mom, he said, Mom, why is the caterpillar eating the leaves? And the mom told the little boy, say, well, because the caterpillar will one day become a butterfly and is storing all that energy within itself. He said, how does a caterpillar become a butterfly? It's so squishy, it's so round. You mean this little round wormy thing will become a butterfly? The mom says, yeah, just watch and see. So the little boy, every single day, will go to his backyard, watch the little caterpillar chew on the different leaves. And every single day he'll ask the mom, say, Mom, when is the caterpillar going to become a butterfly? And the boy and the mom will always say, just watch the caterpillar. And the boy would always return to the mom and say, hey, Mom, I've seen the caterpillar. It's growing a little bit, it's growing a little fatter, it's growing a little bigger, but I'm still not seeing the wings. Where's the wings on the caterpillar? Mom says, just watch the caterpillar. So as days go, one day the little boy says, saw something happen to the caterpillar. He said, Mommy, something's happening to the caterpillar. The caterpillar, it's vomiting something, it's chewing something out. And Mommy said, hey, that's a great news, because the caterpillar, it's forming a little chrysalis, a little cocoon, to have a little space for itself to kind of prepare itself for metamorphosis. And the little boy says, Mom, what is that? What's that all about? Well, Mommy said, well, the caterpillar is undergoing transformation. So the little boy, being intrigued, told Mom, hey, Mom, what's happening there? Well, Mommy told the little boy, say, hey, just watch. So the day passed, and the caterpillar cocooned itself or encased itself under the chrysalis, the little shape. And so now the caterpillar is within the chrysalis. And the little boy was saying, hey, Mommy, the caterpillar can't breathe. It's now stuck in the little cocoon. It feels very tight. Shall we help it? Shall we help it to give some air? Mommy says, no, just watch the caterpillar. Just observe the caterpillar. So as days went by, the little caterpillar began to grow. The chrysalis began to change its color, right? From a white, it began to transform its color into different tones. And one day the boy went to the mom, Mommy, I noticed the caterpillar is shaking inside the chrysalis. Can I help it? Can I help it to come out? Because I think it's struggling inside. Mommy says, no, just watch the caterpillar. So as the days goes, the boy is watching that caterpillar in the chrysalis moving. Right? All you could see, he couldn't see what's happening inside, but he saw on the outside, it's very still. It's almost as if nothing is happening. It's almost as if nothing has changed. Days went by, and 1 week has passed, 2 weeks has passed. And finally, the little boy saw tiny movements. The chrysalis began to shake a little bit more. The chrysalis began to open itself, and out came that butterfly. The boy, being very elated, very excited, screamed and yelled. He said, Mommy, come, take a look. The little green caterpillar now becomes such a giant, magnificent butterfly. The caterpillar has finally transformed. It took so long, Mommy, but I finally saw the caterpillar transform. And Mommy told the little boy and said, hey, son, on day one, when you first saw the caterpillar, it was already transforming. What you see now, it's the manifestation of the transformation. What you see now, it's the manifestation of transformation. In the coaching process, too often we want to see that birth from the cocoon or from the chrysalis to become a butterfly. We want to see that huge shift. We want to see that seismic shift. We want to see that breakthrough. But however, we're not patient enough to realize that every single moment transformation is happening. Transformation is happening surely. Visually, we may not see anything that's happening, but it's happening surely. The beauty of transformation lies not in the outcome of the transformation, lies not in seeing that huge butterfly that's birthed of. The beauty of transformation is this, is in the patient awaiting. It's in that patient game where we are watching and enjoying every single moment. Now, notice this. if the boy worries for the caterpillar, will any amount of the worry add to the growth of the caterpillar? No. Will any amount of troubling mummy add to the transformation of the caterpillar? No. Would any amount of assistance aid the caterpillar? No. In fact, if the boy were to go forward and peel open the chrysalis ahead of time, we will get what we call a premature transformation. And instead of helping the butterfly, in fact, we destroy the very thing the butterfly needed in its birth, which is that struggle. And sometimes this is the truth. When we see our clients struggling, as a coach, we feel compelled to want to help the client. We feel compelled to want to step in. We feel compelled to say, hey, client, can I help you? Can I offer something to help you? But we're not realizing that what we think of help is actually doing more harm to the client. But if we were to trust the process of transformation, and we trust that value is inherent in the coaching process, transformation will surely happen. Too often we're looking for that manifestation, the big thing, the aha, the largesse, the things that's transforming that we can see visually. But we're not realizing, we're not celebrating that little moments. We're not celebrating every single moment. And we're not celebrating the change. So that's something that's really beautiful here. The story of the caterpillar and the butterfly reveals a story, a coaching story. A story that tells us that, hey, it doesn't matter what the world defines transformation as. The best thing the caterpillar can do in the little chrysalis is not to struggle. The best thing the caterpillar can do is continue to feed, continue to nourish itself, continue to enjoy every single moment. Because even if the caterpillar struggles, even if the caterpillar worries, you know what? It's not going to change anything. In fact, it's going to cause it more stress. But the best thing the caterpillar can do in those moments is just to enjoy the process. In the coaching moment is to allow our clients to enjoy the process of growth, enjoy the process of change, enjoy the process of progression. And as coaches, it's about helping them to experience and celebrate different milestones along their way. And this is what we always hear. Life always begins when we begin to enjoy every single moment of the way. Yeah. So notice how a very simple story like this can reveal different facets of things, and how this story allows us to create connection immediately. And sometimes stories like this allows us to create connections that were never there. And that's the beauty of stories. And when we talk about braving that story, we're saying this: hey, you know what? It doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter what background I'm from. It doesn't matter if anybody hears my voice. But if I can just step in, if I can just be brave and just step in, you know what? I don't have to worry anymore. I don't have to worry what the world says I should be. I just can be me. I can be comfortable to just be me, right? That's the biggest thing that I can ever do. I can just be me. That's the story of the caterpillar. Now, a while ago, there was another incident. This little boy went on to have a little farm at his backyard, and he saw a group of hens that laying eggs. And he noticed that the eggs were really nicely placed. And he says, "Mommy, when will the eggs become chicks?" Mommy told the son, said, "Hey, just watch. Just watch." And one day, as the egg was getting ready to hatch, the boy noticed the little beak that was coming out. And the boy was really excited and told, Mommy, should I help that little chick to come out of the egg? It looks like it's struggling." Mommy says, "No, watch. Just watch. Be patient and watch." And notice this. The same story happened again. This time, the boy realized something. He said, "Hey, you know what? That struggle that the chick was going through, the best thing I can do is to create a safe environment. The best thing I can do is to hold that space. The best thing I can do in that moment is to be there for that transformation to happen." The best thing we can do for our clients in the moments like this, in the moments of struggle, in the moments of alignment, in the moments of creating that, in the moments of creation, it's to be there for the client. Our clients wish for us to be there with them. Sometimes how many of us wish that someone was there with us through that process? And that's the role of the coach. The role of the coach is not to say, "Oh, you have done right, you have done wrong." It's not to correct us. It's not to it's not to just not to teach us, not to instruct us, not to advise or consult us. The role of the coach is to partner with us on this journey. And in those moments of transformation, we begin to realize this: if we have external force coming in, life ends. But life begins when it comes from inside out. Transformation always happens from inside out, then outside in. And that's the beauty of that story. Now, how many of you can resonate with this? I see some of you posting this, saying reflection is sharpest in still waters. I love that. I love that. That's beautiful. Reflection is sharpest in still waters. And crystal is metaphor is really powerful. And notice how simple stories like this really intrigue us. Today, one of the I would say one of the success and one of the sad thing about online platforms is this: as we get more connected, our minds are very quick to want to, okay, what's next? What's next? What slides? What slides is Jedi going to present today? I'm going to see that amazing slides. Oh, is he going to wow us with visualizations, AR technology, this and that? But let me tell you, sometimes one of the most powerful thing a human can do is to offer a story. And in that story, to give the space for the clients to create connections. And that story is not imposing. That story, it's not imposing on the client's will, but that story, it's a space where the client can be who they are. A space where they can be free to express who they are. And I share this often, all the time with my clients as well and my coaches. I said, hey, the stories that we tell reveals a part of us. Have you ever heard of this amazing song, This Is a Part of Me, right, by Katy Perry? And you realize, hey, everyone has a story. For the musicians, their story is through the lyrics of their songs, through the melodies, through the harmonies that they present. That is their story. For the poets, it's through their poetry. From the authors and the book writers, it's through the very prose that they craft. And what about a coach? What is our story that present today? Our story is when we partner with our clients to be there on their journey. The clients, one of the best experience the client ever have is that when they look back and say, you know what, I'm so thankful that I was on this journey with you. And I like what Tosho says this, the cohort that is there with all of us. I remember one time there was this young boy where I had a coach. It's about 12 years or 15 years ago. So there's this young boy that I had a coach, and the mom says, okay, you got this young boy that my son that I need you to coach. So I was assigned to coach this young person. So that was my first few assignments as a coach, and people say, oh, but Jedi, you look pretty young. I say, yeah, that's the beauty of the Asian face. Asians always look young. So I was coaching this young guy, and I remember it was late at night, and he was coming out from the lift. And at that point of time, there wasn't anyone else. It was just me. I was just by the sofa. I was just waiting for the client to come in. And I remember the lift door beginning to open. And when the lift door opened, I began to feel like, I don't know, a sense of tingling sensation on my arms. And it's almost eerie, that feel. And when I saw someone coming out, it's the person walked really slowly. And it feels like there's some breath of coldness and stillness is just emitting out of that lift. And as he stepped closer and closer, and I'm just wondering, okay, at this hour, I don't think anyone else will be coming to the office. It's probably the client. So when I turned my head around, and to my surprise, I noticed someone dressed in black, and he was all dressed in a gothic style looking apparel, and he had dark rings, so he had some eyeliners drawn, and he was carrying a really interesting backpack. So on his backpack, he was carrying this bunny backpack. It was a huge bunny backpack, and he was about, I think, 17 and 18 years of age at that point of time. So when he came closer to me, and I asked him, are you this person? He says, yes. Right? Oh, he just nodded his head. And I said, okay, well, welcome to our session. Please take a seat. So he had this almost still face. Nothing was changing. Nothing was moving. It was really, really still. Nothing has changed. And it got even more scary because I began to see that he had a lot of gothic rings, he had piercings in different parts of his body, and his back, the bunny, he took it off, and on the bunny there were two patches of red patches, kind of like like someone has stitched some patches on the bunny side. So it felt really really eerie for me. I was just wondering, okay, oh my goodness, is this the client that I have to coach, right? So, and I was very curious about this client. I was saying, hey, you know what? As a young coach, I have no idea how to handle such a client like this, how to get this person to open up. And so all I did was the most powerful question. You want to know what's the most powerful question any coach can ask? How many of you want to guess? Comment down below. What is the most powerful question any coach can ask? Whenever you get stuck. This is my golden tip. Whenever you get stuck, this is the number one question you could always ask. It's three words. How are you? Tell me more. It's a good question. In fact, it's my upcoming YouTube video, right? I just say, hey, how are you? Right? And guess what I had? I had silence. And silence, it's the most deafening thing for a coach. So, how are you? Right? And he was just very quiet. No voice, nothing at all. And I was just wondering, okay, I need to get all my coaching techniques out. I say, okay, what should I do next? This client is not talking, is not saying anything, right? So I began to be a little more chatty. I said, hey, I was engaged, to kind of have a conversation with you because I understand some things happening in your life and in your story. So tell me a little bit more what's happened. Nothing came out from his mouth. Nothing at all, right? I just sat there. I was talking most of the time and I couldn't get anything out from him. And it was a struggle. At that point of time, I thought I was a failed coach. I was saying, oh my goodness, right? A coach should not be talking so much. And I'm talking 50%, in fact, 80% of the time because this person is not saying anything. All he had was a little verbal nuance sound, like right? There wasn't much articulation in terms of the English grammar or nothing was coming out from his mouth. So everything was very silent, right? It was the polar opposite of what a coach should be. And I was just wondering, oh no, right? So guess what happens? I began to assess that situation based on what I was seeing. I was beginning to assess the situation and the effectiveness of the coaching conversation based on what I'm sensing, rather than basing on what the client is experiencing. So that day went really badly. We ended the session and I realized I just felt that I wasn't doing really well, right? So we went back and when we came back in the next session, the same thing happened. But this time I managed to get him to articulate a few words. And it was about 2 or 3 sessions later that I began to realize, I said, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to do something different. I've been trying all the different tools and techniques, but I just couldn't get into his story. So I asked him this question. I said, hey, I noticed you have been carrying this bunny bag for some time. Could you tell me a little bit more about this bunny? Now, that was the magic moment. At that moment, he began to shed and began to open up his story. He began to open up who he was through that story of the bunny. And I began to realize one thing. Every one of us have a story that is precious, that is very intimate, that we hold very close to us. And some of us, the key or the secret lock to unlock it might present itself in an object, might present itself in an emotion, it might present itself in something else. For that person, it presented itself as that bunny. So as we begin to talk about the bunny, we took the attention off him, and we just focused on the bunny. And that's the process of what we call a dissociative state. And that process is sometimes what I refer to as metaphorium. Metaphorium is the engineering of metaphors in the conversational context, where we take the weight off an individual, the focus off the individual, and we focus on the particular object. Very much like a symbolic object, very much like a representation of how he's feeling. And so he was able to begin to open up. He was able to begin to share with me his thoughts from the lens of the bunny. And it helped him to ease that weight off him. And it also eased the conversation that we have. And so through that whole conversation, after a few weeks and a few months passed, slowly but surely, the dark rings began to fall off. He no longer had those dark rings that he put on, the eyeliners. He no longer had the gothic sense. And it was about a year or two that suddenly he was a transformed person. And today, in fact, a few years ago, he was beginning to be on stage to do some singing, to do some performance, and he was much more of a jovial person than he was back then. He was a very much of quiet person, very introverted person, but now he's more jovial. And the last I knew he was married with his wife and planning to have kids soon. So when I saw that process, I saw at least a 10 to 15-year process that happened through the whole journey. But what I saw, although I saw transformation happening towards the end, but what I didn't realize was transformation was happening already in his life. And all it took was for me to enter his world, enter that story, and helping him to embrace, to brave that story that he is. And I began to realize one thing. Through his story, I realized a very important element, a really, really important truth, is that even if I seem to be different from the rest, it's okay. It doesn't matter how people see me, right? And I realized that the very expression that he had to have all these different elements was to show others that, hey, there's some, because he was afraid of what people might find out about who he was on inside. So he had all these different layers to kind of create a front for others. But deep down, he had something that he wanted to share. And that is entering his world. The best thing the coach can do is to enter the client's world, and that is their story. And that's the precious story. And to help them to breathe through that story that they have in their lives. And so that's something really precious. When I enjoy this as well, this begins to shift. The weight of the world from the client begins to lift off. I often say this, the journey in life, or the journey in our lives, we carry a few things in our lives. The older we go, the more the baggage holds. So when I look at someone here today, right, I often tell them, what is in your bag? I'm curious what's in your bag today, right? And oftentimes people tell me, you know what, Jedi, you do not know. When you reach 50, when you reach 60, when you reach 70, you will know, right? There's this ancient saying in the Asian culture, they often say this, I eat salt more than you eat rice. In other words, it says this, I've been through more hardships than you've ever been through of joys in your life. So he says you have no idea what kind of baggage I have to carry. Now in life, there may be certain baggage that we may have picked up unknowingly. And sometimes we find it really hard to take off that baggage. But on top of the baggage, sometimes we don't realize there are chains holding us down. And that chains can be emotional chains, physiological chains, psychological chains that's just holding us down. Then what is our role as a coach? Our role as a coach is not just trying to remove every single chain that's there. Our role as a coach is to help them to become aware that they're carrying those baggage, to help them become aware that the chains are there. And then that's a point of time we can ask them to decide, what have we decided to do today? Do we want to read the chain off? Do we want to read the back off? Or how are we going to progress from today's forward? Yeah, to brave our story, it's a very simple truth. To brave our story is to create that space first for the client to allow the voice of truth to tell a different story. The voice of truth says, do not be afraid. The voice of truth to tell them that, hey, you know what? Against all odds, against every single thing that everyone has said, nobody believe in you. But you know what? As the coach, I'm here with you. I'm gonna believe for you. I'm gonna fight this battle with you. I'm there with you. I'm gonna cheer you on. I'm gonna celebrate with you. And that is something really beautiful. That chain and that celebration, it's what we do as a coach, right? To go alongside with them, to say, hey, you know what, I'm cheering you on, right? Doesn't matter what people say, but we're gonna cheer you on all the way through. Now, how many of you are resonating with the stories that I'm telling you, right? This is not a story class, but I hope that these stories, you begin to find little connections for yourself as well, to begin to brave it. Now, how many of you here as a coach feel that I'm not sure if I can make it as a coach? Or I'm not sure whether will I be successful as a coach? How many of you have this thought? Yeah? Yes? Maybe? No? Yeah. How many of you feel that, hey, you know what? There's so many coaches out there, and I am not sure whether can I make it, because I've been attending coaching class after coaching class after coaching trainings, but you know what? I've almost zero clients. Right? right? Or I don't know how to get clients, and I'm just wondering whether how do I get clients. I've attended all kinds of Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, TikTok marketing. Now there's polywork marketing. There's all kinds of things that's out there. How do I do that? How do I do that? How do I get out of this? Well, what if I tell you today that the simple thing the role of a coach can do, it's not to do traditional marketing, which is going out there telling people how good coaching is, but it's about allowing another person to experience your story. What if I tell you that the best thing someone can do to get to know you, it's for you to brave your story, for you to be vulnerable, to let others know your journey. And that's the beauty about storytelling. The beauty of storytelling is this, that people are drawn to people who are like themselves. People like people who are like themselves. And they begin to draw people who resonate with the way, the style, and the manner by which you present your story. And sometimes coaches ask me, say, no, Jedi, but I'm not good at all the digital marketing. I'm not good at all this. I'm not good with IT. I'm not good with everything. How do I draw people to me? And oftentimes I say this. I say the best thing, it's to brave a story, which means, what do we mean by that? To tell your story, your personal story. Everyone has a story worth to tell. And it doesn't matter which culture, which background. You may say that, wow, you know what, I'm a nobody in my culture. Nobody knows me, right? I'm nobody in this place. I'm too young. I'm too old. So I often hear this thing said, right? I'm too young for this. I'm too old for this. And I often tell coaches, I said, if you're too young for this, then when will you be just right? If you're too old for that, when will you be just right? We'll never find a point of time that we are just right. And it's okay. When we're too young, there's a market for us to serve. If we're too old, there's also a market for us to serve. And that's the beauty about being able to brave a story. And in fact, if you realize this, you begin to realize that, hey, people often ask, why would I get you as a coach? Because the simple truth is this, I want to get to a coach who can have compassion, who can empathize with me, who can understand me, who can kind of resonate with the vibes that I'm feeling. In fact, when I run my coaching programs called Brave Your Story on a one-to-one basis, oftentimes it's not about getting lots of clients. It's about helping people to brave that story and through that one conversation at a time. Every life that it's touched begin to touch other lives as well. The hallmark of effective coaching is not in the client needing coaching forever. The hallmark of coaching is that the client can become independent and they can take ownership and responsibility in their own life and accountability, and they can move forward in their life, right? And that's the hallmark of great coaching. Greatness is not about trying to be. In fact, today, I often ask coaches this one question. I ask, hey, how many of you are great coaches here? Raise your hands. How many of you are great coaches here? Great coaches, give me a shout out. Sometimes I feel that I'm talking to the virtual wall. Alright, if you're watching live on Facebook, watching live on Zoom, give a move. You got to jive here on the Zoom channel, right? How many of you are great coaches here? Me. Okay, some of us say me. Well, some of us, I don't think I can be a great coach. I don't think I am a great coach because I'm not an ACC yet, because I'm not a PCC yet. I don't think I'm a great coach because I don't have a client yet. Now, if you're measuring your greatness based on your qualifications, that's a wrong premise to measure. Because greatness is not in what we do, greatness is in who we are. Greatness is a state of being than a state of doing. You see, the premise of going from good to great is that we're not there yet. And that's a false premise. The journey of it is understanding that we are all little seeds, like a mustard seed. Planting the little seed and it will grow to an amazing giant tree. In fact, one of the beauty about a seed in looking at this is this. A seed planted by the wayside will grow up fast, but they have no roots to go deep. A seed planted on solid ground may sprout, but because the soil it's not fertile, the roots cannot broaden itself, it cannot go wide, right? But a seed planted on good ground, with the right nutrients, with the right watering, it's able to go deeper than ever before. And that is something really powerful. So that is the beauty about seed. And when we realize this, the seed of greatness is in all of us, in our clients as well. The beauty about coaching is in us seeing that seed that's within them and helping them to nourish that seed. Yeah. Okay, I'm seeing a few questions here. Come, let's take a look at some of the questions. So, what kind of stories impacting Tosho asked this question. Okay, you are good at storytelling. What kind of stories impacting the best during the coaching on the client? Well, I'm a very terrible storyteller. But the reason the story is resonating with you because you begin to find connection in the story. What kind of story is impacting the best during the coaching client? The best stories is often the client story. Whenever I hear the client ask them one question, I say, hey, tell me a little bit more about what happened here. Tell me more about why this matter to you. And as I become curious about their world, guess what? Because I'm curious about the world, the client feels that, hey, you know what, this coach is really listening to me. People want to be listened to. People want to be understood. And too often as coaches, we want to kind of impose, we want to kind of sound interesting than to be interested in the client. As coaches, are we trying to present interesting questions to the client, or are we interested in their story? If we are having this, if we adopt this principle of being interested in their story, then we begin to inquire in their world. We begin to inquire about who they are. And it's no longer about coming with some sophistry of language or linguistics, but coming with plain, simple, clean languaging, naturalistic languaging approach to inquire deeper and go deeper with them. So the best kind of story to use, it's the client story. And from that story, to hear what are the underlying nuance in that story and to unravel the beauty from within. All right. So I have another one here. Samantha says, in the coaching program I'm on, there's a principle of not letting our single stories as coaches enter the coaching container conversation. A very hard thing to do, and what are you sharing is a very different view. The principle of not letting our single story as a coach enter the coaching container. Well, there are many different perspectives when we look at the coaching stories. The view I often take is the view of the client. How and what makes most sense to the client? How and what will help the client progress? Rather than what I can do, rather than what tools I'm using, I want to employ a style that's flexible, client-oriented, and a style that allows the client to move from where they are to where they want to be. So for example, I love to be able to provoke the client. I love to be able to provoke the way we are used to think. Too often coaches get stuck in the box. And guess what happens, right? We are always a coach in the box, using the tools in the box, but never quite seeing the world differently. There are infinite possibilities that are out there. And the beauty about coaching is to be able to be flexible in the deployment and employment of the various tool sets that we have. Now, and I often tell coaches this: imagine you as a masterful chef. A masterful chef, or any regular home cook or home chef, you will use one knife for the fish, one knife for the beef, one knife for the fruits, one knife for the vegetables, using the same knife for every single thing. But if you're more of a professional chef, you know there's a knife for the poultry, you know there's a knife for the fish, you know there's a knife for the bread, you know there's a knife for the fruits. But if you are an even more masterful chef, there's different types of knives for different types of fish, for different kinds of work. So although it's about that being able to go deeper, but the precision of the question, the precision of employing that becomes different, right? So that's the beauty about coaching as well. Yeah. So love your questions. Now, feel free to ask more questions, right? And I think I really love you guys posting anything here. Is this making sense to all of us? Is this helping you guys? Yep. Hopefully it's helping to you guys. So Hibatullah, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. How far is the coach allowed to use his curiosity in the conversation while the client is sharing their story? Well, the principle I often employ is that allow the client to express. And when you notice that moment of pause, you know the client is thinking of something, you know the client is inquiring, you know the client is visualizing something, or maybe the client is feeling something. And that's when we can go in and inquire a little bit more. I always want to make sure that the person has fully expressed themselves before me stepping in, right? If I want to step in the conversation, I want to make sure that there's intended coaching purpose to do so. So if the person is sharing and sharing and sharing, I want to make sure that the person has fully expressed themselves before stepping into the conversation, and especially when the client's telling their story. Now, another thing to really support the client's sharing of the story is to show that I'm interested in the story. So sometimes I might use certain non-verbal or verbal sounds like, wow, I may use nuances like this. I said, hey, I love what you shared there. That's really wonderful. Now again, I'll be cautious about this as well, because different cultures, I have to honor different cultures and different backgrounds of the client. Sometimes, if I overly do such nuances or different vocal inflections and tones, what could happen is that the client may feel that I'm very irritating. Sometimes clients may feel that they love to hear the coach supporting them through, wow, they may love to hear this, but some clients may not enjoy that as well. So therefore, one of the premises is this: I'm always watching the client's learning style. I'm always watching the way the client learns things, and whether my style that I'm adopting is supporting the client's self-expression, right? If my style that I'm adopting is not, then I probably want to take a step back and not to overly impose on the client. Yeah. So that's when we can use our curiosity to a certain extent. Now, if I have something to share, I want to make sure that I always ask for permission before entering the conversation. So imagine this: whatever the client's sharing in their story, it's a sterile environment. It's a really sterile environment, and I don't want to enter that sterile environment, right? So, for example, if I'm in the theater, I'm doing surgery, the last thing I want is to introduce a foreign object. That foreign object is my presupposition, is my imposition of the world. When I enter the client's world, it's a sterile environment, and I want to honor the client's perspective of their world with UPR. UPR stands for unconditional positive regard for who they are, what their beliefs are, what their values are, and honoring the experience that they have. So when I'm curious about their experience and the world around them, I will ask a few questions like this. I will do a precursor. I will say, hey, Mr. Klein, or Mrs. Klein, or Klein, may I have permission to share some thoughts? May I have permission to ask a few questions here? May I have permission to kind of reflect something? Or may I have permission to share some thoughts that I have? Share the thoughts, and after that, you need to close with something, what I call a little precursor, so that the client can either accept that or the client can reject that. And often I end with this. I said, hey, I'm not sure if this makes any sense to you. What are your thoughts on it? Or if this doesn't make any sense, feel free to push back, right? So I have the start, I have the end, and I share my thoughts in the middle. So it allows the chance for the client to kind of push back, or for the client to take on some of my inputs as a coach to layer on all these facets. Right? That is how we actually employ a sense of evoking of awareness with the client. Okay. In leadership coaching by Anuba, what if some coachee at VP level is not ready to share their story and is adamant about there is no problem, but the coachee report in 360 degree is meeting organization requirements? So the very first step that I would do here, if the coachee and the VP level is not able to share the story, I want to hear what are their thoughts around the report, right? So first, I'll approach them and ask them, hey, have you read the report? What are your thoughts around this report? Do you agree or disagree? Now, the person will begin to share their story from their own lens of their perception about this report, whether they strongly are against this report or they're with this report. So that becomes their story. I will use the pathway of least resistance to go in deeper with that particular individual to explore more. So I always choose somewhere that is not too intimate for the person, which is sometimes it could be at the work level story, it could be at the leadership behavioral stories before going in deeper into the core stories. So in my program called Brave the Story, there's different layers of stories. There is what we call the situational or the behavioral story, that is describing or the descriptors of what happened in the situation. There is also the underlying deeper story, which is the self story, who they are on the inside. So if I'm dealing with a VP and my objective is to help them with their behavioral change, then I'll work from that layer of behavior before going deeper into the being. Now, sometimes it's not easy to go straight to the being. So sometimes I often hear this, I say, coach the person, not the problem. And the key issue is this: whatever the problem the client brings to us is not the real problem. We are trying to unravel what the real problem is. But, and only if the client has given us permission to go deeper. Sometimes at this current season, the client is not ready to take it any further. And it's okay to stay at the problem level. So today I'm hearing this proliferation going on, saying that, coaches must only coach the person. They should not focus on the problem. But the truth is this: if the client is not ready to go deeper, we should not be pushing further. It's very much like me coming to your house, and I come into your house uninvited, and I just take off my shoes and just sit at your sofa, uninvited. And that is not how coaching should be, right? When we want to coach the person, I will go with where the person is at a comfort level. But it also tells me one thing. The further and the deeper I want to go with the client, the level of trust and the sense of safety must also be deeper. So, how much trust the client has with you will determine how deep you can go in the coaching conversation. So sometimes coaches ask me, why is it that my other peer can go deeper with the client, but why is it I can't go? Well, perhaps one of the things you want to take a step back is to see, hey, how do I first establish trust first, right? Because can you imagine this? Nobody on the first date will open up their hearts to you. Can you imagine? In fact, I've seen this comedy before. This young guy tried to propose to the dream of the lover of his life on the very first date. No woman would do that, right? So it takes time to build trust, and in that process, to slowly unravel for the client. Yeah, it's yes. Yeah. So Donna says it's about trust, connection, rapport first. I could listen all day. Yeah. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for helping us. For chipping in this. Right. In fact, one of the things that I would like to share with you guys in closing in this is this beautiful story of the frog. In fact, it's my upcoming book called The Frog in the Well. I have so many books that I want to write. I wish I could have all the days to write the books, right? Now, and if you guys want to watch some of my videos that will help you in this braving a story, you can head on to my YouTube channel. It's called Coaching Changes Lives. Subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of videos to help you from ACC to MCC level. One day I received an email from an unknown person, unknown coach, and she wrote into me and said, Jedi, because I watch your videos, it helped me to prepare for my PCC, and I passed my PCC just watching your videos. So I was very enlightened to know that that people watching the videos can even be supported that way. So I love to support coaches in any way possible, review everything to them, and helping them to become more masterful in their coaching conversations. So let me end with this amazing story about the frog. There was once a frog who grew up in the well, and this frog never knew the light of day. All he saw above, at the top of him, all he saw was the clouds, the birds, the sun that was flowing past. His entire world was just above him. Was the little circle, was the little well, that's all he saw. One day, a little bunny hopped by, and the bunny says to the frog, Frog, hey, you got to come out here. You got to see the world. The world is so much greater, so much bigger. The frog told the little bunny and said, No. I'm enjoying my life. Look, I have the sky, I have the pond, I have everything that I need. This is such a lovely, warm place. The bunny looked down at the frog and says, Frog, I think you must be mistaken. The world outside is so much fun. Down there is so small, so decrepit, it's so filthy. You need to get out of here. The frog turned to the rabbit and said, No. I'm enjoying my life. I enjoy the world here. Now, the rabbit told the frog this one thing. You don't know what you're missing. That one word caused the frog to doubt his entire existence. So the frog began to think, am I really missing something? Maybe perhaps I'm really missing something. And so the frog decided to leave his well and get out of the well. When he got out of the well, he looked around him and said, Wow, have I missed the entire world? I'm seeing the playground, I'm seeing the farm, I'm seeing every single thing. Oh my goodness, my world has changed. Now let's ask this question. Has the frog world changed? Has his world changed? The answer is no. The world was still the same, but his perspective of the world changed. Now, one day the frog looked up and he saw the plane flying around, and he says, Hey, what is that on the sky? And the little rabbit said, Oh, that's a plane. You got to take the plane and go around the world and see. So the frog was very happy, and he bought himself a ticket and got on the plane. And he flew around the world and said, Wow, the world is different. This world has changed. But has his world changed? No. His world has never changed. The world around him has never changed. But the world through which the lens he sees, or the world by which the lens he saw, changed. The beauty of coaching is this. It's not in trying to impose my world on the client. It's in helping the client see their world in a whole new another way. Helping them to see their world in an expanded way. Helping them to see that they can brave their story as well. So hopefully this session has encouraged some of us as coaches out there. And hopefully this has touch your hearts as well. If you like it, do uh, connect with me online or on this channel. So I think there's all the links there to help you guys as well. So really appreciate you giving me this 60 minutes to really be part of the story. And in fact, what we've just done over the last 60 minutes is that you've allowed me to be in your story, in your life story, at least in the 60 minutes. And I hope this has given you some ideas, some encouragement as well. And over to you, Brenda.
As much as we're talking about the story, I literally have no words. What you have shared and what you have given us, this information, and not only just information, but really, really a different perspective, even of our own journey. So I thank you. And I see, I'm looking in the chat now, I'm seeing a lot of thanks a lot. And people were saying they're going to connect with you later. Hibatula has actually put your YouTube channel here for us, so we don't even have to look it up. She's already done it for us. We thank you so much. And I do hope that every single one of you will connect later with Jedi. Soham will also give you the link to do so. If there are any other questions, we have 2 whole minutes. So if there's any other questions or comments, or if you just want to come on and if you have anything that you want to say or whatever, this is your moment. This is your time. Anything that you would like to say or add. Thank you for being here and allowing me to share this evening with you. Thank you so much. Seeing a lot of thank yous, Jedi.
Thanks, Brenda and Soham for inviting me here. It's always a tremendous blessing, and you know what? I wanted to challenge everyone here to have tonight, right? If you get a chance this week to post your story, to post your experience here that you had gained from this experience, connect with me, tag me, and tag anyone here, and know this, that the coach community, it's here to support everyone, and we're never alone in this whole journey. Yeah, and no matter what voice, which culture we're from, every voice matters, and I truly believe that.
That so powerful. So we are looking forward to all of you joining us even next week. Next week, we have Jeffrey Hull, who will be talking about coaching leaders to the next level of agility. So we have just really, really encompassed so much information on these Transformational Tuesdays. So we're going to get ready to close out now. I'm seeing still a lot of thank yous. I really hope that you are taking this information so that you can connect with Jedi later. And I just thank you so much for spending this time with Coach Transformation Academy. And I look forward to seeing you all next week as well. So we're going to say good night to you. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Good night, good evening, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being part of the story.
Night.
Yeah.
Good night, Jedi.